The bloodline was built to protect Roman before the danger reached him. For years, that was the whole system. Someone would pull the referee, someone would take the spear, someone would appear at the perfect second and make sure Roman's empire survived one more night. But now the danger is not coming from outside, it is standing inside the family. And that is why this story feels different. Roman Reigns is not losing the bloodline in one dramatic betrayal, he is losing it in smaller, quieter ways. A delayed reaction, a wrong look, a cousin who does not wait for orders, a monster who does not care where the head of the table is supposed to sit. That is worse than defeat, because Roman can recover from a loss. But he cannot rebuild a family that no longer moves when he needs it to. That is the real fear behind Jacob Fatu. Not that he can beat Roman in a match. Roman has been beaten before, Cody Rhodes proved that. Seth Rollins has haunted him for years. Jey Uso survived him emotionally long before he ever escaped him physically. Roman knows what it means to lose a fight and still remain important. But Jacob is not attacking Roman's record, he is attacking the system. The old bloodline had a rhythm, Roman stood in the middle, and everyone else reacted. If Roman was cornered, the family adjusted. If Roman was exposed, the family covered him. If Roman was about to lose, the bloodline changed the ending. It became so normal that the audience started waiting for it. The moment Roman looked vulnerable, people did not ask if help was coming, they asked who would arrive first. That was power. Real power is not throwing the hardest punch, it is making other people move before you have to ask. Roman had that, now he is watching it disappear. When Jacob Fatu steps into Roman's space, there is no respect in the timing, no pause for the tribal chief, no careful wait for the right command. Jacob moves like a man who does not believe the room belongs to Roman anymore. That is the part Roman can feel before anyone says it. The bloodline used to be Roman's warning system, now it is the source of the warning. And the most dangerous thing about Jacob is not that he is uncontrollable, it is that everyone can see it. Roman can hide a bad night. He can explain a loss. He can blame interference, betrayal, exhaustion, timing, anything. But he cannot explain away the image of his own family hesitating while Jacob becomes the loudest force in the room. A champion can lose and still look like a champion. A leader cannot look abandoned and still pretend nothing changed. That is where Roman is now. The title picture matters. WWE Raw matters. SmackDown matters. The next Bloodline segment matters. But underneath all of it is a simpler question. When Roman Reigns is in danger now, who still moves first? That question did not exist during his strongest years. Back then, Roman did not need to chase loyalty. It arrived on schedule. Jay's pain, Jimmy's confusion, Solo's silence, Paul Heyman's fear, all of it still bent toward Roman. Even when the bloodline was cracking, it cracked around him. He was still the center of the damage. Jacob changes the center. That is why this angle has weight. He is not just another monster WWE can feed to Roman Reigns. He is a monster standing inside the same family name Roman used as armor. That makes every attack feel personal, even when nobody explains it. Jacob does not need a long promo about legacy. The blood already says enough. Roman spent years turning family into a weapon. Now the weapon has stopped pointing where he wants. That is the story. It is not about Jacob being wild for the sake of being wild. It is about what his wildness does to Roman's authority. Roman's whole presentation depends on control. The slow entrance, the stare, the silence before he speaks. The way he makes people wait until waiting itself starts to feel like respect. Jacob Fatu ruins waiting. He does not enter Roman's rhythm, he breaks it. He brings speed where Roman wants patience. He brings impact where Roman wants ceremony. He brings instinct into a world Roman built on hierarchy. Roman can handle enemies who hate him. Hate still acknowledges him. Jacob feels worse because he does not seem interested in Roman's approval at all. He does not look like a man trying to prove he deserves a seat at the table. He looks like he walked in and decided the table was in his way. That is why Roman cannot simply spear this problem away. The spear can end a match, it cannot restore obedience. That is the difference between a wrestling rivalry and a bloodline story. In a normal feud, the question is who wins. In this one, the question is what the win means after the bell rings. Roman can beat Jacob and still lose something. He can survive the match and still watch the family hesitate. He can raise his hand and still feel the room moving away from him. That is what makes the next chapter so important. If Roman and Jacob stand across from each other again, Every second should feel like a test of authority, not just strength. Roman will try to slow him down. He has to. That is Roman's language. He will use the ropes, the corners, the space outside the ring. He will turn the match heavy because heavy matches favor Roman. He will make Jacob carry his own anger until that anger becomes a mistake. And it might work. Roman is not weak. That is the mistake a lot of people make when they talk about him now. Losing control does not mean losing ability. Roman Reigns is still Roman Reigns. He is still one of the most protected, most important, most dangerous men WWE has built in the last decade. But Jacob does not have to make Roman weak. He only has to make him uncertain. That is enough. One kick out at the wrong time. One burst after Roman thinks he has slowed him down. One moment where Jacob rises too soon and Roman's face changes before he can hide it. That is all the audience needs. Because the audience knows Roman's face. They know the arrogance. They know the patience. They know the cold little smile when he realizes the match has moved back into his hands. So when that face shows doubt, even for half a second, it means something. That is the moment this story should chase. Not Jacob destroying Roman in 5 minutes. Not Roman brushing him off like another challenger. The sweet spot is in the discomfort. Roman finding answers, but not liking how hard he has to search for them. Jacob getting hurt, but not becoming smaller. The family watching, and the audience wondering who they fear more. That last part matters most. The bloodline has always been about fear. Roman called it respect, but respect was never the whole truth. People acknowledged him because refusing had a cost, they stood beside him because leaving had a cost. Even love in Roman's world came with a receipt. Jacob Fatu is the receipt. He is what comes back when years of pressure finally create something with no interest in being managed. And that makes Roman's position more fragile than it looks. On paper, he can still walk out with the same music, the same confidence, the same hand raised in the air. But aura is not protected by entrance music. Aura is protected by belief. The second people stop believing everyone in the bloodline will move for Roman, the whole character changes. He is still powerful, but he is no longer automatic. That is a huge difference. During the peak of the Tribal Chief era, Roman's danger felt automatic. The family appeared automatically. Paul Heyman panicked automatically. Opponents collapsed into Roman's traps automatically. Even the crowd, angry as it was, understood the pattern. Now Jacob is creating a new pattern. Roman speaks. Jacob interrupts. Roman wins. Jacob ruins the ending. Roman demands control. Jacob makes the room feel unsafe. That is how power shifts in wrestling. Not all at once. Not with a single announcement. It shifts through repetition until the audience starts expecting something different. And right now, the audience is starting to expect Jacob Fatu to be the thing Roman cannot predict. That is why the story should stay focused on the present. The past only matters because it tells us what Roman is losing. We do not need to relive every bloodline chapter. We only need to remember what it felt like when Roman's family moved like a machine. Because now the machine is late. A late save is not a save. A wrong look is not loyalty. A family member who waits to see what happens is already halfway gone. That is the kind of detail that makes this angle feel real. Big betrayals are easy. A chair shot, a dramatic turn, a shocked face, the crowd screams, and everyone understands the moment. This is quieter. Roman is losing the bloodline through timing. The timing of who steps forward, the timing of who looks away, the timing of who waits just long enough for Roman to notice. That is much more painful than one betrayal, because it means the feeling has been changing before the story admitted it. Roman knows that. He understands power too well not to know it. He knows when a room is with him, he knows when silence belongs to him, he knows when people are waiting because they respect him, and when they are waiting because they want to see what happens next. Jacob has changed the waiting. That is why Roman looks different around him, not beaten, aware. Aware that the old formula is failing. Aware that family no longer guarantees protection. Aware that the same bloodline he used to build an empire may now be the place where the empire starts falling apart. And the cruelest part is that Roman cannot fix this with force alone. Force created the problem. He can punish Jacob, he can attack him, he can try to humble him, he can make an example out of him in front of the whole WWE roster. But every act of violence risks proving Jacob's point that the bloodline was never really a family under Roman. It was a system built around fear, and fear is changing sides. That sentence is the entire story. Fear is changing sides. For years, opponents feared Roman's family. Now Roman has to wonder what his family will do. For years, the bloodline made Roman feel inevitable. Now Jacob makes Roman feel surrounded by something he cannot fully trust. That is why Jay and Jimmy matter without needing to become the focus. Their history is the pressure in the background. They know what Roman did. They know what it cost to follow him. If Roman needs them now, the story becomes uncomfortable in the right way. Because needing help is not the same as commanding help. Roman knows how to command. He does not know how to ask. And if Jacob Fatu keeps pushing, Roman may have to do the one thing the tribal chief was never built to do. He may have to look at the family and hope they choose him. That is not a small change. That is the collapse of the entire idea. The head of the table does not hope. He decides. But what happens when nobody follows the decision? That is the match beyond the match. Roman versus Jacob may happen in the ring, but Roman versus the Bloodline's silence is happening every week. Every segment, every stare, every delay adds to the feeling that Roman is not losing power because he got weaker. He is losing power because the room stopped reacting to him like he was the only danger in it. Jacob Fatu did that. He made the room bigger than Roman. That is what the best WWE storylines do. They change the way you read the same characters. Roman's pause feels different now. Paul Heyman's expression feels different. The Usos standing nearby feels different. Even the word family feels different, because Jacob makes it sound less like protection and more like a threat waiting for the right second. The bloodline used to be Roman's shield. Now it might be the place he gets cut. That is why Roman Reigns is not simply facing another monster, he is facing the possibility that everything he built taught the wrong lesson. He taught the family that power belongs to the one who can enforce it. He taught them that loyalty can be demanded through pain. He taught them that fear is useful. Jacob learned all of that, he just did not learn obedience. And that is why Roman knows this is different. A rival can be defeated, a challenger can be pinned, a title can be defended, but a family that stops moving for you is much harder to win back. The next time Jacob steps toward Roman, watch the people around them. That is where the story is. Not just in the punch, not just in the spear, not just in the title shot. Watch who moves first. Watch who hesitates. Watch Roman's face when the answer takes half a second too long. Because that half second is the bloodline falling apart in real time. Roman Reigns can survive Jacob Fatu's violence. He has survived violence his entire career. What he may not survive is the silence after it. The moment when he looks around for the family that once appeared automatically and realizes everyone is waiting to see if he can still save himself. That is when the empire really starts to die. Not with a pinfall, not with a betrayal. Not with someone shouting that the bloodline is over. It starts when Roman Reigns needs help, and the family pauses. That pause is the story. That pause is the fear. That pause is Jacob Fatu taking something Roman cannot win back in one match. Roman can recover from a loss. He can win the next fight. He can raise the title again. He can stand in the middle of the ring and call himself the tribal chief until the building shakes. But if the bloodline no longer moves when he needs it to, then the title is just gold, the entrance is just music, and the table is just furniture. Roman Reigns built an empire where everyone reacted to him. Jacob Fatu has made them wait. And once the family starts waiting, the head of the table is no longer giving orders, he is waiting too.